Good morning, everyone. We're doing a little gear switching today. We're going to start to position ourselves into the final phase of planting preparation, because depending on what the forecast does over the next week, we may try to plant some beans. Regardless, it's about time to get this big four-wheel drive tractor out of the seed shed because we really don't have much room. Over the past week, we got in a big load of Bex seed, all of our corn, and we're only lacking 7 or 8 boxes of beans, maybe not even that much. We've got all of our Pioneer and DeKalb. You guys watched that the other day. And then we did get our box of channel corn. So we are almost there for planting season. The only thing we're lacking are our Don Mario beans. Well, that and the Bex beans we still need to get. The rest of the Bex seed beans are supposed to come today, and seeing as we literally have little room to work with, and we're kind of getting to that final step of planter preparation, we're just gonna go ahead and move the 9620R back to the other shed and pull out the second field cultivator to make sure it's gonna run fine. You wanna talk about temperamental. 70 degrees one day here in central Illinois, the next day 20 degrees and back and forth. It's very confusing to try and farm here. Oh yeah, before I forget, check this out. I do need to finish the wiring on it because I didn't have the connector, the convenience plug for the tractor, but got an MXT 575 in here from Midland. Definitely check them out if you're in the market for powerful two-way radios. They're awesome. I'm looking forward to being able to communicate with everyone without having to grab my cell phone out of my pocket. Quick and convenient. Definitely something to look into if you're still using your cell phones all the time, especially if you have poor cell service. Moving this conveyor out of the way solo. Not because I couldn't recruit help, more because I'm stubborn and impatient and don't want to wait on anyone to come help. I may regret this in about 30 years and get lined up right. This do-it-yourself and not wait for anyone mentality is probably the same reason my dad's had 2 shoulder surgeries. It must be a genetic thing. And yes, I know people have commented there is a self-propelled conveyor feature, but the issue with the self-propelled thing is that the option for it is about 2.5 times the price of the conveyor itself. This is like a $18,000 conveyor, and to buy it with the self-propelled option on it, our dealer quoted us like low 40,000 range for it, which, I mean, yes, it would be nice if that's how you want to spend your money. By all means do so. I don't know. It seems like you could spend your money better in other places, but not like we're not wasteful in other areas. I'm not even sure where to put this. I'll just take it to the north. That way we've got room to pull the planters out without issue. That project is done. I'm gonna go back to Dad's and wait on that load of Bex seed beans. Then we're gonna try to drag the other field cultivator out. Just a little bit ago, I unloaded the rest of our Bex seed for this growing season. Now I'm gonna go ahead and do the same old song and dance of backing everything out so I can get to the field cultivator that's tucked away in that corner. Considering our luck with the other field cultivator, unfolding is a pretty good sign to start this process. I think that's gonna clear my Hagee, I'm not sure. I should probably be more concerned about Dad's pickup. Looks good. Dad and Chris are in here rearranging parking spots. We're trying to move the vertical till which was in the middle of the south side, to the east side of the south side, southeast corner, I guess is a better way to put it, to give us more room, as opposed to letting them try to figure that out on their own. I'll bring some of my youth and good looks to come help out. Use the vertical till that much in the spring. We've got the extra tractor, we hook it up, get it out of the way. If we need it, especially if there's some kind of unlikely emergency, we have it. Moving the fuel cultivator out and the vertical till around frees up a lot of extra room. Too wet to take the planters to the field to check them out. Specifically Dad's corn planter that the row shutoffs need readjusted on. So we're going to pull them back in a different order than before. I'd like to keep the sprayer easily accessible because I think it'll be the first thing that heads to the fields here the next week, depending on how Mother Nature responds. Dad had some concerns about the air in one of these mainframe tires. Gonna check that out. And then the other thing I noticed was we've got a little rock trap in here. It's always hysterical to see a rock like this in the rolling basket because it doesn't look like it fits anywhere. So it had to have got in a very specific location. Now it looks to me like maybe it bent its way in there. I don't really know. You pretty much have to find where it came in to take it out without doing extra bending, because they get in there and they'll just sit there and roll around. Oh, there's another bent one. I mean, we probably get a lot of rocks in here in the season. I remember just last spring alone knocking a few of them out. May have to get the sledgehammer involved. I guess there's no way through there because there's a guard here. How in the world could that rock have gotten in there? That's probably the slot right there. All right. Only one way to do this, folks. Like a hot knife through butter. Perfect. This metal's softer than it looks. Oh, there's something else broken. Hanger for the harrow. It had to have happened last season, we just didn't catch it. I guarantee we don't have that part here. You can walk around these things a million times and still manage to miss something that another time is very evidently broken when you look at it, just because there's so many parts on here that can break. A lot of bolts that just break over time, and usually you catch them eventually. If not, you'll notice them when something's hanging somewhere it shouldn't be. Time for a quick parts run. Disappointing parts run. They didn't have everything that I needed, which was 2 sets of the pins, the bushings, and the clip. So I told them to just order it for stock. It'll be in a couple days, which we can just fix it before we take it to the field, whenever that may be. It's not going to be that soon. The part that really stings is that those 2 sets of parts was over $100, which is a bit ridiculous to me. I told Kevin, the parts guy, I hope he's at least getting paid well, because that's a ripoff. Yeah, well, never hurts to drive around the countryside and look at things. That's the real goal of a parts run. That's funky. What in the world? Trying to fold it up, but it's being weird. It's folding, it just seems kind of odd how it was trying to do it. Just not a huge fan of this true set on this field cultivators. You guys have heard me harp on it many times over. Just seems to be a little complicated for what it is. Anyways, I got everything accomplished that I could without having those spare parts. Tires had just enough tire pressure. I topped them off, so really didn't need done, but I went ahead and did it. I'm gonna go ahead and back this into a corner and what is that tire doing? I'm telling you, this thing's up to something funky right now. I'm gonna back it up and unhook it. It'll be whoever runs this thing in another week's problem to figure out why it's being weird. Okay, I'm sure you're confused about the site in front of you. We've had a bit of a frustrating revelation and development here. We got this unhooked, and then Dad and I noticed that a handful of our shank brackets, this piece in particular that hangs onto the frame, had cracks in them. And even this one right here has the start of a hairline crack. The issue is if they're cracked, eventually they will break off completely. Best case scenario, you just lose them and you got to replace them. Worst case scenario, they fall off and end up in the tire of something else, which is a much more expensive issue. And surprisingly, when you lose things, they do have some strange magnetic tendency to end up in expensive tires. I don't know how that happens, but it does. Because of this, Dad and I spent the last hour or so, maybe not quite, 30 minutes, shuffling around underneath the field cultivator. We found at least 10 of them that were bad. We took them apart or took them off the frame. We ordered some new ones at John Deere just a little bit ago. They only had one in stock, $160+ a piece, so we're gonna have $1,600 of hardware. It's just an issue that has to be fixed now, as opposed when we're trying to run and they start breaking. Maybe they wouldn't have broke off the rest of the way, but a lot of times you just don't leave that to chance. They will need replaced eventually. Might as well do it when you realize it. This field cultivator is 3 years old. It is unusual that that is happening to that. This one's brand newer. I guess it's a year old now. They really don't see that many acres a year, so it's a little peculiar. I suggested to Dad that maybe it's because we do lightly turn with them in the ground. Sometimes on the end we will lift them up to where they're scratching and then put them back down when they're actually doing their full tillage pass. I know that that does add some sideways force to them. Some people don't recommend that. We've done that for years with our older field cultivators and never had any issues at all with them cracking like that. The only other thing in the equation here that we don't have accounted for is a 620+ horsepower tractor. So that could have something to do with it. Could be a combination of multiple things, or parts just aren't as high quality as they used to be. I really don't know. It's hard to blame us or blame Deere. Someone's at fault, maybe all of us. Oh well, add that to my list of things to do when those all come in, because changing those out is quite the task, because you got to mess with that spring in there, and springs are never fun when they're involved in maintenance. Checking with you guys tomorrow. A nice and chilly 28 degrees this morning to start the day. Not exactly planning weather. Here's the forecast Ryan down right now. This rain on Monday night, Tuesday morning is really going to be the determining factor as to whether or not we're able to try to plant some beans next week, which would be the last week of March. If we don't get the inch of rain they're calling for, maybe anything less than a ½ inch, we may be thinking about planting here in this window. I'd like to get this field cultivator fixed up today. Alliance Tractor only had one of the holders that we needed, so I don't even know if they're going to be in today to start that project. If they come in, we'll work on it. If not, we'll work on it some other time. Jeff's due back from his vacation, so maybe we can give him something fun to do first thing when he returns. Got a few meetings this morning. I'll take care of a quick project before I get busy. Got these convenience plugs on Amazon. They are about half the price of the same thing or a similar thing at the local John Deere dealership. The only issue is you got to figure out which wire is colored for what. This one is blue to ground and white to key power. Try to go key power on these radios if we don't have a battery shut off switch, because key power, obviously it's only getting power when it's on, when the key's on, and you never know with some of this stuff if it can drain the battery or not. Got cold this morning. MXC 575 powered on now because I have a radio at home. Usually if my oldest minion is around, if I radio him, I may get a confirmation. Calling all humans. This is your overlord speaking. Please respond. Now you just gotta wait. I repeat, calling all humans. Please respond. It's in the other room. How are you, fellow human? Did you get all that? Thank you for confirmation of my radio system's performance. Good day. What? Oh, that's great. I could just imagine, because the radio's in the office and he was probably in the living room. I imagine him just scurrying as fast as he can from his toys to the radio to start talking. I'm logging off of this frequency. Goodbye. And key power, and it's off. See, I did everything right. I tell you I'm an expert, but I've just done about 8 of these now throughout the years, so I at least know what I'm doing sometimes. The risk of a deep freeze is out of the forecast for now. It may get to 31 or 32 once or twice in the next week. Not a big deal. So I'm doing a little bit of an experiment on the tanker trailer to diagnose an issue that I had when I did that first round of spraying. When we did that first batch of burn down spraying, I filled the back tank with 800 gallons of ATS and water, and then the front tank had, let's say, 300 gallons of Roundup 2,4-D and adjuvant and water. When I went to load out of the back tank with the ATS, that's what I started with. Instead of pulling 800 gallons, I had almost 1,100 gallons in the sprayer. Both bottom valves were shut, and the thing I don't remember is whether or not I closed both of my agitation valves. So the only thing that Doug from Helena and I could really conjure is that maybe I had both agitation valves open, and because this sparge system is below the water level now, if both of those are open, gravity would actually allow product in the front tank to flow to the back tank, and vice versa, just depending on which one is filled up higher. I showed you guys last year how that works with the 2 bottom valves. If I pop both of those down, all of this front tank, or not all of it, the front tank will flow to the back tank or the opposite direction until it reaches equilibrium. And I filled the front tank up with water here to see if that's the case. I can't exactly ensure that it's empty. There is no water in the sight tube though on the back. So we're gonna flip the valves and then get in and see what happens. The main valves are always closed when I'm loaded. I'm not gonna say I shut them once I've started filling the sprayer out of them. They are closed when I leave Helena. And we'll probably even actually be able to hear audibly if the water flows. Oh yeah, I can actually already hear it moving through there. Yep, that solves that. Also looks like I got a little leak down there at the base. I'll be the first one to admit that it's silly. I didn't even recognize that as a possibility when we went to load. Unfortunately, because I put 800 gallons on the back of ATS and then sprayed that thinking I was getting 5 gallons an acre, it was effectively 35 to 40% less product by the time it was diluted with the water, the Roundup, and the 2,4-D. Carryover's not going to matter for 2,4-D. We're so far out, it's plant safe technically. We're all enlist this year on beans on our own acres, so it shouldn't hurt them anyways, but label-wise, generic 2,4-D has probably a 30-day plant back on beans. It's really good to find out issues like that when you have unimportant products in the tank. If I was doing some trial work with something that was legitimately expensive, or I was spraying for someone and I had 2 mixed batches in there, That could have really muddied the water for the quality of the data we were getting, or mixability of the products. Who knows? There's a million different scenarios there. One thing I would never do is put a corn only chemical and a bean only chemical on the tanker, because you have to clean the tanker out. That would be such a risk of cross-contamination, even if you were on top of everything, that you'd never gamble with that. We'll just take this as a learning lesson, and remember, when we are loading, to close our agitation valves. The Honda engine here was running very poorly, unchoked, since the start of the season. I don't know if it got gummed up, but the other day, popped open the carburetor, cleaned it out, put a new air filter on, so hopefully I can run it wide open this season without issue. Got all the water in the tanker. I'm gonna wanna test that fin row nozzle anyways. Might as well go ahead and fill the sprayer up while I got some free time. I'm gonna take off early today because my beloved Fighting Illini have a basketball game in the NCAA tournament at 2 p.m. And it's my wife's birthday. The latter is more important, but I'm also gonna watch the basketball game. I guess we'll just pull back over here, unfold the boom, and wait on the mail lady. Mail call was early today, so we got our much anticipated Quick Connect High Pro boomless fence row nozzle. So we'll fire the sprayer up, see how this thing looks. In terms of my sprayer setup, these two buttons right here are my fence row nozzles. So when I pop those on, it opens those valves over there and allows the product through. I've pretty much got the pump wide open, 90%. Gonna throw on the control. Those size 8 AI XRs do a pretty darn good job. We are 30 inches in the air, and I'm going to flip on the fence row nozzle. I hit it. Don't see anything coming out of that side. Let's try this side. It works, but not getting much of a pattern. I've got 7 of my 9 sections on, so outside sections are on as well as the fence row nozzles. We'll hop out and look for verification. I assume that's what that's supposed to look like. 30 inches, we're getting, I don't know, 8 or 9 foot of distance. That's probably good. This one might have a leaking issue on the actual control valve, which is keeping it from pressurizing. I'll have to address that separately. Ladies and gentlemen, I would officially say that it is in fact spray season. On top of having a little over 300 acres of pre-plant 32 and a few other fertilizers to put down today on some stubble, Dad's also compiled a list of just shy of 700 acres of soybean stubble that needs a burn down because the winter annuals are getting a little bit out of control. So I've got 1,000 acres on the books today, getting fueled up nice and early. Gonna go get a load soon after I do a pattern check on the boom with the size 8 nozzles. It's a good looking rig though. Looks better at night. It's got some nice lighting on it. Already got the tanker hooked up first thing. It was a nice chilly 34 degrees when we started at 5 a.m. Gonna get up into the 60s though, so good day to get the sprayer out. Ground should be plenty dry for maneuvering the terrain, and that warmth also provides us some vegetative growth activity in the plants, hopefully driving in some of this burn down. The 32 we're putting on is a little different of a scenario, and I'll talk about that here in a little bit. This old girl was pretty slow to unfold this morning. I can't blame her. It's a little bit on the cool side. Not motivated to do anything in a hurry. I'm gonna go ahead and fire this up. Gotta be pretty quick because these size 8s will drain the 900 gallons of water in the tank pretty fast. These size 8s are gonna be used for the fertilizer type application. So if the flow's not perfect, I'm not that concerned about it. The ones I was running earlier, I was trying to kill growing weeds, and getting coverage is even more important, so you don't want nozzles skipping. My other night spray light, the blue one on the other side, needs adjusted because this one right here has got pretty darn good angle of the action. The other one's not quite as good. Nope. That one's not on. So we got one that wasn't working. Other than fixing a plug nozzle, I'm happy with everything. Looks first thing. Sun is about to crest the horizon. I'm gonna go pick up my first little batch chemical to get started. bay. It took a while to load even that small batch because we're running about 2 gallons an acre of a liquid molasses sugar product, and that's kind of slow to load. So I'm gonna go get this truck staged and then go get the sprayer. Back at the sprayer, flip that nozzle over, doing one last nozzle check and also emptying my tank from all this water. Everything looks good except for cannot get that Finstro nozzle to work. Not that big of a deal because I normally ring everything my right side to the fence. So fix it sometime and know it's an issue. Looks pretty good. Just have a little bit of tassel debris from last fungicide season. Popped it out, cleaned it out, put it back on. We're good to go. Gonna fold up and head north. I'm gonna hop out, agitate the tank for a little bit, get the sprayer loaded up, and then we're gonna get after it today. Get lined up for takeoff. We've got one heck of a batch going on between the 32 ATS, the sugar, a little bit of herbicide in the mix, and a stock degradation product. We are going to be putting on almost 27 gallons an acre. That means I'm gonna be doing a lot of filling with this 1,200 gallon sprayer. It's gonna slow me down. I've only got 300 plus acres of this to spray, and then I'll be back to the 10 gallons an acre for just the Roundup 2,4-D mix. It's a necessary evil to chase yields, and I think we've got the potential on some of these fields with the drainage work we've done to raise 300 bushel averages. We just gotta connect our T's and dot our I's. As I unfold the sprayer, I've got the precision reclaim system running as well as my tank agitator. That way we've got a nice hot boom ready to start. Looks beautiful going on. That's one of my favorite things about running these bigger air-inducted flat fans is that you can raise the boom up a little bit if there's no wind. Don't have to worry about doing any kind of boom tillage. Blow your product on and move on down the road. Got about 42 of the 47 acres sprayed. Gonna need to fill because I think I only can hold it enough for 44 acres at best, so I'll run out on the next pass. Didn't make sense to track up the field again, so I'm gonna walk and get the tanker. Jeff's headed back from vacation today, so I should have him next week if we do any more intensive spraying. At some point this morning, my brother-in-law is gonna come help and drive a truck for me. I really need the driver for this heavy carrier rate stuff because filling a lot is easier if the truck is closer to where you need it to be, especially on the 220 acre field we're about to head to after the next field we're gonna do. Should all fit on the sprayer to finish the rest of this and then the next small field. These fields are getting treated a little uniquely because they're getting more sugar than the last 200 acres are. It's not like this farm is literally potting soil. Look at that. You can bag that and sell it at Home Depot. It's like a garden. On top of the extra sugar, I also threw in a pint of 2,4-D on this field, just generic 2,4-D. It's a couple bucks, maybe $3 an acre. This field's not very weedy because we worked the snot out of it. We did that land shaping out here. The one closer in town is getting a lot of winter annuals in it because it didn't see any kind of broad spectrum tillage. We just ran the inline ripper. Doesn't disturb the surface enough. So I thought I'm mixing them together. It's not very expensive. Just gonna throw 2,4-D on all of it. About a 10-day to 14-day plant back on the label. I don't actually know for corn. I don't think we'll be out here planting anytime soon, so no big deal. Also got 2 ounces of Zidua because it's a hell of a chemistry really for residual, and I don't have to clean out the sprayer or the tanker when I switch to beans. It's a win-win. I'm really excited. We grew phenomenal corn out here on this farm 2 years ago, and the owner's really stepping up the management protocol, putting Beck 6374 out here. I think that's been a pretty solid hybrid. Hopefully we can go 300 bushel corn if everything's right. The only thing we can't bottle up and put on the farm is controlled rainfall, which is what we need for big yields. We moved into Mattoon, and as you can see, this is the field that needed the 2,4-D. really, I don't know that a pint is even going to be enough. It should at least slow some of these weeds down. And when we hit it with the field cultivator, they'll be pretty vulnerable here in another 10 days or so. It's actually a fairly wet farm, and it's spraying like it's dry, so pretty close to plantability, just too early to put corn in the ground. Taking a shortcut through town, on to the next one. We're about 2/3 of the way done with the last field of 32 we're spraying on. I'm sitting here waiting on my tanker driver because he just got detained by a sheriff. I think it was a non-event. The sheriff thought he was broke down, checked on him. He just said he's waiting here to load chemicals, so sheriff went on down the road. Guess it doesn't hurt for them to check, but don't want my tanker driver to get arrested. The sheriff said someone called him in thinking he was broke down on the side of the road. That was not the case. It's hard living in today's world. If you don't drive a shiny new Pete, people call the sheriff on you. I've talked a lot about winter annual control, herbicide options, and then you can consider tillage. And this field's an example of the fact that tillage is not 100% guarantee either. Chemicals probably the highest percentage chance of success, especially depending on the dollar amounts you spend. Running a vertical till does reduce populations, but it's not a guarantee you won't have winter annuals. Okay, after a lot of filling, we finished up the 220 acre field that was getting the pre-plant 32, and then now we're jumping next door to a long 90 here. That's a different management program. It's getting a little weedy, so Nate went to pick up a load of 2,4-D and an adjuvant only at 10 gallon an acre. Because I'm cutting carrier way down, got to switch away from the size 8 nozzles. I don't think I could even drive this sprayer at road speed fast enough to maintain a pattern with size 8 nozzles at 10 gallon an acre. With these turrets, it's super easy to switch to the other nozzles, assuming you have them equipped, going from this size 8, the white flat fan air inducted T-jet, to this non-air inducted size 4 twin jet. I wish I had a set of size 4 T-jet AIXRs, which that's what this white one is. These twin jets are a little bit drifty. I'm not that concerned because we've got very good spraying conditions today, but I just like being able to run my boom a little higher comfortably just to keep it out of the dirt. With these non-air inducted turbo twin jets, I just feel like if I get too much ground speed going, it just turns into a complete mist, and that's a little concerning from a drift standpoint. I hate when this happens. A golden retriever has appeared in this field, and I don't like spraying the fields when there's a dog just running around. Like, he's gonna follow me through the field right now and puts me in like an ethical dilemma. So I'm gonna drive across the street and see if it's their dog. Yep, he's just helping me. I want to run him over. I've got a soft spot for dogs. But I'm gonna go check with this neighbor over here. It's kind of slowing me down a little bit, but just one of those things you gotta do. The dog followed me over to that house, and I asked the family there if he belonged to them. They said no, and then I pleaded with them to keep the dog for a couple hours so I could finish spraying over here, and then at some undisclosed time tonight I would come back and get the dog from him, and then I would harbor him until his owners appear. Hopefully he has owners. Last year or 2 years ago, we had an incident like this happen with Katie, and she ended up with a new dog out of the deal. While we've been out fertilizing, killing weeds, wrangling stray dogs, Dad's been there working on that field cultivator all day today, so I think his shoulders are going to be a little sore tomorrow. Just got the machine back home in the shed. Decent day's work, sprayed almost 700 acres. That 32 I did at the beginning is just such a slow process that it's hard to get a lot done. I'd like to have got another 300 acres sprayed, but I guess I'll have to work tomorrow. Just in case there was any doubt, I am a man of my word. I collected the dog. He's very sweet. I certainly would think he belongs to someone. He is fairly skinny. I'm gonna drive around the block and see if any of the neighbors recognize him. Yeah, had to report to work on a Saturday, unfortunately. You have to do that sometimes. Wrapping up the last of the 450 acres I needed sprayed this morning. I was hoping to have it done by noon, but it's more like 1 o'clock. I haven't had a tinker driver today, so I've just been kind of self-tinkering myself. It works, but it's not the fastest. Oh, man. Cutting through one of our fields back to the main farm now. These winter annuals are a little bit more on the crispy side because I sprayed them 6-7 days ago before that last rain. They're nice and dead. Purple flowers must die. Looks like someone took the field cultivator out to play. Oh, I told my wife I'd be home 2 hours ago, so she's probably not in the best mood right now. It is very difficult to estimate time sometimes with these farming related tasks. Either I'm always on the low side for time required, or things just don't go the way I plan. Or maybe a combination of the two. Lucky. A little update on the dog situation. Brought him home last night. He's a really sweet dog, well trained, possibly potty trained. We need to get him to a vet, see if he's microchipped. However, my friend that deer hunts over on the farm we were at said he was there last weekend, like 6 days ago, and he was hunting for deer antler sheds and said that this dog was out there. He thought because he was such a good looking dog and so friendly, and he actually even brought him a deer antler, that he was just a local farm dog that was, you know, out wandering around. Based on his extreme leanness right now, I mean, you can feel his back ribs and he's just kind of skinny. You would think that he's been out there for a while. So we're gonna make a good effort to find him a home, or his home, not a home. And if not, either we're gonna keep him, or I've already had like 6 or 7 people ask me to have this dog. I guess golden retrievers are in high demand. He also happens to be a little bit more calm and less neurotic than O'Malley and Murphy here. They're running around trying to play nonstop, and he's already looking for a spot to lay down and nap. Anyways, that is going to wrap up our adventures for this video. Gonna take tomorrow off and see what Monday brings. Definitely gonna finalize some planter preparation, and then we've got to kind of wait in a holding pattern and see what this rain comes on Monday night. So I'll keep you guys all updated. As always, I greatly appreciate every single one of you continuing to tune in and support the channel. Your viewership means the world to me. I'll catch you all in the next episode. Until then, make sure you like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see more, and comment down below if you have any questions. You know I love to talk about farming. Have a great day, everyone. Peace!